Today is Tuesday, May 12th, and we are calling to order the meeting of Development, Planning, Sustainability Zoning Committee we'll start with. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll? Here. Okay, Councilwoman Santana was having some difficulties this morning and let me know that we should just go ahead and get started. She will be here momentarily. So we'll just sort of do some of the boring work on the front end. I think we have a map setback here. We see these quite often. It's a zoning thingamajig. Director, if you'd like to tell us the thingamajig.
Good morning, Councilman Harsh. Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator for Zoning. I'm sorry. This will be quick, so it will not bore you too much, hopefully. So the purpose of this rezoning is really just to promote walkability and support a diversity of housing typologies, so different types of housing at different price points, which is in alignment with our Connecting Cleveland 2020 Comprehensive Citywide Plan, as well as other neighborhood plans. And then we also want to promote walkability by establishing map setbacks in context with the already existing and historic building form and uses. So what you're looking here is the site. The current zoning here is a mix of two-family residential as well as local retail. And though all we're proposing here is to change all of the three adjacent corners to local retail H2, and then to add a 0-foot specific map setback. So to give a little bit of context, which I'll go forward with, is at these corners historically have been buildings built all the way up to the sidewalk, really creating a small neighborhood amenity node at this location. And so map setbacks, as you may remember, they are a required front yard in which no structures may be located except where specifically allowed by the code. They're indicated on our building zone maps. It's either from the property line or from the street center line. They take precedence over all of our other front yard setback regulations, and they can only be changed with legislation such as this. And so this is just giving you a context of the current context of this corner at West 7th and Jefferson. Just another view. This also is looking southwest as well as northwest along Jefferson. You can see there's a mix of old and new development here. Again, this is looking down more towards West 7th, and Jefferson looking northeast with some of the mix of uses where you had the larger buildings at the node as well as more single-family, two-family as you get further down the street. And so this particular corner here was a development that's proposed. It's going through the permitting process that started previously under the other councilwoman back last year, and then followed up with Councilman Davis. Here are the Jefferson Apartments. Now the context that used to be here was right at the street line, and so to rebuild at this site, we really need to map the map setbacks at 0 feet to allow them to come forward and fit within the site. And so that is the proposal, is changing the 4 corners to local retail and then adding that 0-foot map setback to ensure that new development fits in within the context that already exists. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I believe this is in Councilman Austin Davis's ward. Councilman, do you have any comments?
You got it. Through the chair, thank you. It's not only in my ward. In the spirit of disclosure, I live around the corner from this proposed map change. So that hyperlocal node is my hyperlocal node. I'll just say 2 things, I think. One is it's my understanding, and I would ask the Chief Administrator if she has any insight on this. It's my understanding the building that used to be where the proposed Jefferson Apartments are was the Northeast Ohio clubhouse for the chapter of the Hells Angels, our local Hells Angels chapter. Is that right?
I am not positive, but I can get the answer for you.
We could look it up. It burned down, I want to say, 22.
It did. It did burn down a few years ago.
And it was always,
but it was at a 0-foot lot line.
Yes, it was. The Hells Angels had pretty good urban sense, I think. Beyond that, have you received any feedback on the proposed map change?
We have not, through the chair.
Oh, through the chair, excuse me.
We have not, through the chair.
Through the chair, then, with that, this is, it's been a vacant lot at a corner with a fair amount of apartments already. Feels like an appropriate use. 12 units, doesn't break the bank. I'll share the block club was a little skeptical over the parking issues. We're always going to have that, and I feel like we're going to figure it out. But yeah, in support of this project.
Okay, great. Again, this is one of those weird, funky things that we do because our zoning code is so old, and if you're a fan of form-based code, this is a reason to support form-based code because we could just do away with these things. But if there's no other comments, then I will say ordinance stands approved. Please sign up.
Thank you.
That ended the zoning portion of development planning sustainability. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. We now call to order the meeting of the Development Planning and Sustainability Committee regular agenda. Madam Chair, please call the roll. Here. Here. Okay, Planning Director, I think you have another issue. Madam Planning Director.
Shannon.
Madam Planning Director. Oh, you're doing this one. Okay, sorry. Okay, well, then we'll go ahead and. They had Director of City Planning. Isn't that her? That's you.
Yes.
Wait.
Acting director right now. Kelly is out of.
Okay, they labeled you both as City Planning Director. Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm bad with titles. Welcome, good morning. We are here for ordinance number 1417, 2025. That means last year. And we are here to tidy up some business that I think has already been completed. So, Director, would you like to let us know what's going on and what brings us here today? I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, sorry, a little bit new. Through myself. This is ordinance number 1417-2025 by Councilmember Harrison and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance approving certain modifications and amendments to the St. Vincent Center, project number Ohio R13, urban renewal plan with respect to releasing a permanent parcel from the area boundaries. Good, Madam Clerk? Okay. Take it away.
All right. So we are here today for approval of this ordinance. We are looking to relieve some of the requirements from the St. Vincent Urban Renewal Plan. The Urban Renewal Plan was originally adopted in 1958 to enable clear title for housing development for Sankofa. We're requesting that that restriction be lifted. I believe for right now it's there may be requirements in there to keep it as parkland. And from my understanding, you guys went through a whole process prior to where the parkland, there was a swap, I think, of city land where some of the city land then was turned into parkland. So they actually have more parkland than they did prior to this project being initiated. And the ordinance, as the second bullet says, the ordinance was is a companion piece to number 1362-2025, authorizing access easement on city-owned land for the same project. So basically, there's only one parcel, I guess, that is within this boundary, parcel number 103-27021, which was acquired by CMHA. Since the parcel falls within the boundaries, it may carry the historic restrictions related to housing development. And so it's necessary that we remove it. Let me advance. And so this is the map that shows the red outline is the urban renewal boundary. The green is the area where CMHA's property is. And so that's where they're looking to expand to. There we go. Okay, and then this shows the site plan of what it is that they are intending to do. And join with me is McKill from MOCAP, and Matt Schmidt from CMHA. So.
Okay. Do either of you have anything to add to this?
You can answer any questions.
Now is your time. Okay. I will open it to the committee if anybody has any questions about this. Okay. I believe this is in Councilman Richard Starr's ward?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a chance to speak with the councilman about this?
I personally have not. I'm pretty sure that he has. Yeah, CMHA
Okay.
has worked with him, and so he's aware of what's happening
Okay.
with this.
Is your read, he's on our committee but not here today, so is your read that he's in favor of this, or is this something that he forgot to tell us he was diametrically opposed to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Into the microphone, yes. You can use your outdoor voice in here, it's
Do we
fine.
need to push to or no?
No, it's
Okay.
all green, we're
Okay.
good to go.
Thank you to the chair. Yes, so this is a project that CMHA and the City of Cleveland have been in partnership with for a number of years. We jointly received a HUD Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant for this property in 2011 and have been working on the redevelopment of what was CMHA's Cedar Extension property and now is Sankofa Village. What you see in orange on the map is the last and final phase of that redevelopment. With that, we undertook a land swap with the City of Cleveland, adding additional park space to the Central Rec Center, and we received a very small portion of what was land behind the Central Rec Center in return to even out the property lines. As a part of that, the councilman was very involved in all of those conversations, has been involved in the planning and the development of the project, and has been in favor of it.
Okay, great. If there's nothing else from our side of the table, seeing no objections, ordinance 1417-2025 stands approved. Please sign up. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll go to capital projects next. We have two, I believe, ordinance 351 and 365. We'll go to 351 first, unless you have a preferred order. No. Nah, it's all good. Okay. So this is ordinance number 351-2026 by council members Hudson, Davis, Bishop, Santana, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to enter into an amendment to contract number CT-0103-PS2023*0338 with Michael Baker International, Inc. to provide additional design services needed to enhance the scope of the rehabilitation of Lorraine Avenue from West 65th Street to West 20th Street for the Office of Capital Projects.
To the chair, to the committee, I have our special projects manager, Katie Moore, as well as our chief engineer, Rick Switowski here, and they will give additional details.
And introduce
about
yourself for
this
everybody on
legislation.
TV.
Oh, yes, I'm Assistant Director Keisha Chambers.
Try to speak into the mic. Good morning. So the ordinance that you see proposed in front of you is really an administrative change. We have two projects that were programmed with ODOT, and one of those numbers appears in the ordinance, but the other one doesn't. So what this ordinance would do is bring in that PID or project ID into the ordinance to make sure that it is clear and accurate as to the project that the city is pursuing and the project that the contract with Michael Baker would be designing.
Okay, is that it? All right, so this is a big project to rehabilitate Lorraine Avenue. I believe part of this falls into Councilman Davis's ward as well. Councilman, do you have any comments or questions about the proposed work?
Through the chair, the Michael Baker has been an excellent partner, as I understand. They've had their hands in so many amazing projects across the city. This technical change has my full support.
Okay, great. Anybody else on the committee? We do have one amendment. Councilman Slade.
I would like to make an amendment. I move in section 3, strike lines 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in their entirety and insert, quote, 20 SF 597, 20 SF 702, 20 SF 712, and from the fund or funds to which are credited any payment, grant, gift, or other funding accepted under this ordinance. In parentheses, RQS 0103 RL 2022111.
An amendment has been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Davis. Any discussion?
I believe that this was offered to us by the law department to clarify funding sources listed in the ordinance. This is coming to us from the administration, signed by Sierra Lipscomb, Assistant Director of Law.
That sounded like what it was to me as well. Madam Chair, to call the roll for the amendment, please. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the amendment carries, and then that brings us back to the founding document. If there's no objections or questions on our side of the table, we will say, without objection, ordinance number 351, 2026 stands approved. Please sign up. As amended. Stands approved as amended. Please sign up. And that takes us to our second issue for you good folks, which is ordinance 365. Sound right?
That's correct.
This is ordinance 365-2026 by Councilmember House Jones, Bishop, Santana, and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue a permit to Juliet LLC to encroach into the public right-of-way of West 6th Street by installing, using, and maintaining decorative wrought irons, 4-inch by 4-inch steel posts, footers, and a steel canopy. I thought we handled this already. I know this.
In a different committee.
It was a
yes.
very beautiful looking rendering, but go ahead and tell us
Yes.
what this one's for.
So there is currently an existing patio already in front of 1313, and so the restaurant next door is acquiring that property, and they'd like to place a new decorative wrought iron enclosure, and it has really like a Parisian cafe feel. You saw the picture, so you remember the look of it, and it will directly relate to the interior of the restaurant as well. So they're trying to just make it cohesive and connect to their current
Oh, yeah.
location. Oh, and there are.
Oh, we have a picture? Oh, we love pictures.
That's the location of 1313. So if you know the restaurant on the corner, it is right next door.
Do you have the wrought iron rendering? Because that's the one that that's the current.
That's
Oh, look at that. So,
Oh, I love the sound.
so France, so Paris, so sophisticated. That's really nice. It looks really good, right? I mean, it does. Very chic. It's very chic. It's very chic. Okay. Yeah, we saw another piece about this a couple of weeks ago, and this apparently is a companion piece. So just go ahead and again mind some P's and Q's or cross T's and dot I's, whichever you prefer. Any questions from colleagues regarding this? Is this you don't go that far? This would be Councilwoman House Jones, I believe, and you've discussed this with her. I think she was here for an earlier discussion.
Yes, correct.
She's in favor?
She's in favor.
Okay, great. Without objection then, ordinance 365, 2026 stands approved. Please sign up. And I think that relieves you all for the morning.
Thank you.
Which, you're welcome. We have then 3 pieces for community development. Director, come on up. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have presentations. Do you have a preference of where you want to start, or should we just go in numerical order?
I believe these go in numerical order.
Numerical order it is.
Good morning,
Hang on. I
committee.
have to read it in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We'll learn together. Here we go. This is ordinance number 464-2026 by Councilmembers Santana and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development to administer the Community Engagement Healthy Home Initiative to enter into one or more contracts with various community development corporations for the purpose of hiring community engagement specialists by neighborhood to improve the quality of life for the residents of the city's housing stock, to enter into professional services contracts for training to conduct the initiative, and to make purchase of materials, equipment, supplies, and services needed to conduct the initiative.
Thank you for not making me read that.
All
Good
you.
morning, Erin Miller-Tate, Director of Community Development. With me is Jeff Kacharski, our Budget Manager. First on our list today, this authorizes the hiring of contract engagement specialists who are housed in our CDCs. We currently are fully staffed at 14 specialists and are working to put in place the tools that we need. Is there a clicker?
Yes.
To achieve the goals that you see described. Specialists perform exterior property inspections with the purpose of identifying potential code violations and preempting civil tickets, connecting residents to programs and resources to correct the violation. Starting in January, our specialists all now have access to Regrid, which is a web-based survey platform that will allow them to collect survey data in real time and give our specialists access to property data in the field. The team's partnered with Case Western Reserve for training on their NST platform, and the Regrid data will be uploaded monthly into NST, where it will be accessible to all. This coordinated data effort will allow us to tailor our approach. Specialists can see ownership data and violations, identify homestead exemption participants or LLCs that aren't up to date on rental registration, and to prescribe and record follow-up activities from the field. In 2027, we will begin using Regrid to track concentrated inspection areas using parcel-level analysis and property grades to target these inspections. Eventually, this will enable us to track some trends over time and to help us monitor problem properties and map our results. Additionally, our specialists were trained by Building and Housing to help support rental registration applications. These are proving to be time-consuming and complex for local mom-and-pop landlords, and we're hoping to continue to be of support there. You can see in these output numbers, there are some notes there. These are as of January, so it's only less than half the year's worth of data, and this is the sort of prime surveying season between now and November. The letters are going out. Applications are very low. This is primarily because there aren't a ton of programs available right now, including our own program. I think that's all I have on that one, if you want to go to next.
Oh, I think we'll do them one at a time.
Okay.
So regarding 464, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that this was a project that I tried to destroy. I tried to scrap it, and I tried to move it over to Building and Housing, not the people. The people were good. I wanted to move them into a different department and have them do a different type of job geared towards code enforcement, but I lost that battle. I could not convince enough of my colleagues to join me in that hill. So I charged up and died. And so we're back here to reauthorize it. I'm not going to renew that fight. I think I sufficiently lost. So this is the Healthy Homes Initiative, and we've had issues and questions and concerns in the past about metrics and what is being accomplished, and are we having clear, dashboard objectives. It seems like, Director, you're introducing some of that into the new sort of
I am.
management of the program.
Indeed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, I'm going to go, first up, I saw Davis and then Gray.
Thank you through the chair, Director. I haven't been before the table or at the table with you before. This is really fun. Good to see you. Just real quick, could you describe sort of the challenges that mom and pop landlords are having with the rental registry?
I would say to the councilman through the chair that this is really mostly a technology issue. The applications are technology-based. They're long. It requires the gathering of some documents. Really, our engagement specialists, their primary role is to help them with the technology, help them gather the right documents, and make sure that their applications are complete.
Through the chair, that makes sense. Technology is hard. Are the engagement specialists, is that like Alexander Sojourny?
So those are our internal specialists. We have, these are specialists that are contracted with individual CDCs, and they are technically contract employees housed at our community development corporations.
Thank you. Yeah, through the chair. It's fitting the giant web in my head better, so I appreciate that.
It's a big web.
Okay, so the Healthy Homes contractors are based at the CDCs, and they provide this kind of assistance to the mom and pop landlords.
That's correct.
Through the chair, have a few landlords who have struggled through technology or some disconnect with the way our systems have received their information. So always curious about how it's working on this end. Thank you for the input.
Of course.
Deal.
Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
The question I have for the contracted Healthy Home reps, are they going to be contracted in all CDCs?
They are
Chair
in,
to the director?
apologies, to the councilwoman through the chair. They are in all but, I believe, 3 of the CDCs. 2, 3, maybe 4 of the CDCs, all but 4.
Okay, how many and what for they aren't going to be in?
There
Chair
are
to the
14
director.
total. 14 total specialists. The CDCs where they are not is Westtown, I'm going to have to count slowly. Westtown, Fairfax, St. Clair Superior, and Midtown. Ohio City and Tremont share one specialist, and some of the other CDCs have 2 specialists.
Okay, all right. Okay. So the other, chair to the director, so the other CDCs, will there be 2 or just 1 chair to the director?
To the councilwoman through the chair, most CDCs only have 1. Newpoint, Burton Bell Carr, Burton Bell Carr, and Famicos have 2 specialists.
2 specialists,
I have
okay.
3 fingers, 2 specialists.
Okay. And do you know, chair to the director, do you know the hours?
I believe they work 40 hours a week consistently.
So that would be 9 to 5?
Basically, they're through the same hours as the CDCs are open to the
Okay.
councilwoman through the chair.
All right, okay. I just asked Chair to the Director, I'm asking because this is majorly important, especially on the, I know it's, all CDCs have their issues, but I know the CDCs that's in the southeast side, it's majorly important that this is needed back in the area that I govern, because I have those 3 CDCs that needs this terribly because it's a high need, and what's going on right now, we so depleted with, those CDCs are so depleted with employees, they cannot manage and do the job that these areas are so needly, badly got to get done. And not to have that assistance for where I stand on the southeast side and also down on the west side, is detrimental. So that's why it's very important to know that this is coming back into the CDCs, and it's going to be contracted through your department to oversee them doing their job out in the community, their footwork that's that's needed to be done. Seriously, because we know what the outcome could be, as my colleague who didn't get what he passed, harsh, knowing the detrimental of housing and how it need to be overseen with this type of positions. So saying all that, Chair, to the director, are these Healthy Home reps, are they going to be screened and qualified to do the job that is needed to be done this time around?
Director, the 14 people we have, how long have they been on staff, and what was the hiring process?
Thank you. To the councilwoman through the chair, or to the chair and the councilwoman. Many of them have been on staff for a long time. They're not, they're contracted year to year, but again, much like a regular staff person, that contract is frequently renewed. Some of them, many of them have been there for the entire extent of the program, so about 4 or 5 years. I would also say that our program manager, Brett Parsons, who is here in the room behind me, does a great deal of training with them. She meets with them monthly as a cohort, so they are introduced to additional resources, city regulations, various and sundry departments offer their sort of support in training them to support residents in using City Hall services.
Okay.
So we do a lot of training for these folks.
Okay, well, that's important because then in my position, I'm going to stay on top of their ability to be out in the community to observe and help the homeowners that need this assistance. So that's why I'm asking these very detailed questions, because this position has been neglected out in the CDCs for so long. Myself personally, I have funded 2 positions in 2 CDCs when I came in the first year because we didn't have these positions. Well, they were there, but I funded 2 positions of one of each type to be out in the community, to know that I'm getting the report, that I'm getting the report and the service that those employees and those homeowners supposed to have had, and also to understand what their position, that they were supposed to do in the community. So just what I'm saying, so maybe now I don't need to hire the 2 extra folks that I had to do the first 4 years, and now since you're bringing in 2 folks from your department to do the job, maybe I cannot not be so intense about so intense about the community that I'm in, and I can pull back a little bit to know that you guys are going to oversee these positions now. So I appreciate it. So thank you, Chair and Director. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Council Lady. And Director, could we make sure that Councilwoman Gray has an opportunity to meet with the people that work in her ward and
Absolutely.
meet with them in person to discuss the work? I recall one of the reasons for creating this program was that we needed code enforcement in the city of Cleveland, but we were concerned about the heavy hand of City Hall coming in as the first contact. So the idea was to put somebody who would wear street clothes and be a little bit more casual in the neighborhood that could work with homeowners around home repair needs, rather than just have an inspector come out there and put that scary 90-day notice on your door. Try to be a little more gentle with folks. And I would hope that we can make that connection, make sure that the council lady knows the folks working in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments regarding this? Seeing none, we will say that 5/18/2026, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Nope. Do the job right. 4/64/2026 stands approved. Please sign up. Take it from here? No? Okay. Then we will move numerically into the next one, which is ordinance 518. This is 5/18/2026 by Council Members Santana and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend sections 2, 3, 5, and 8 of ordinance number 858/2025, passed July 9th, 2025, as amended by ordinance number 1225/2025, passed November 10th, 2025, relating to the budget allocations received from HUD for the 2025 Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership Act Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, and the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Grant. Madam Director, I believe that this is another P's and Q's issue.
It is indeed.
Tell us what we're doing.
So we are looking to amend the last year's federal grant allocations to include the Department of Development. So as you are no doubt aware, the Department of Community Development manages several interdepartmental agreements that help us to administer these funds. They are all listed on the slide for your review. This amendment just serves to add the Department of Development to that list so that they may legally enter into contracts that use those HUD dollars. Specifically, these are home dollars for housing trust fund projects and some neighborhood development activity grants as appropriate. I did prepare a little graphic for you. I know that we're all still adjusting to this new configuration. So just for clarity, you can see here that that portion of our department that moved into the Department of Development. This amendment to the initial ordinance will allow Director Bordeaux-Small to enter into contracts needed to fulfill the needs of her offices of major projects and land strategy.
So essentially, we changed the name of a department, and now we have to go back and insert the name of that department into some previous contracts so that we can just go ahead and continue doing the work that we were already doing anyway.
Basically, yes, we will create an MOU agreement with the department.
Okay. Does anybody have questions regarding this one? Bit of a technicality issue. Seeing none, 5/18/2026 stands approved. Please sign up. And that brings us to our last one of the day. This will be 5/20/2026. This is by Councilmember Santana and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development to apply for and accept grants from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for PY 2026 under the Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 for the 2026 Community Development Block Grant Program, Federal Home Investment Partnerships Act Program, Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and the Housing Opportunities for Person with AIDS Program. Director, I believe this is our standard annual application to receive CDBG funding.
That is correct. This year's planning process is a little bit more involved because it's a consolidated planning year, meaning that we are working on strategy for 5 years' worth of HUD-funded projects at this time. The consolidated plan also includes the annual plan, which is where we will detail 26 expenditures. This ordinance does not request expend authority yet because we do not have official confirmation of the funds or a plan for how we're going to spend them. The year's planning process, I said that already, guided by requirements from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. So we're using demographic, housing, economic data, as well as citizen participation to conduct needs assessment and identify community priorities. Public engagement is a central but historically neglected component of this process. So the department has this year conducted a series of 6 meetings, both in-person and virtual, east and west, in February and March to hear resident concerns. So we will be releasing a draft plan in June of this year. That will be for the 30-day public comment period before the plan is submitted to HUD. And, as in the past, this legislation just grants us permission to apply for the funds and to accept them, should we be so lucky. These funds will fund vital projects across the city.
Absolutely. And Director, it's my understanding that HUD is going to ask us for a 5-year plan
Yes.
this year?
That is correct.
When do they want that finalized? What is the deadline to getting them to the 5-year plan?
To the chair, the deadline for the consolidated plan is August 15th.
August 15th?
But do recall that there is a 30-day public comment period required before submission.
Okay. I will hand over to Councilman Slife.
And I have a question too.
Thank you, and I think you. I don't know if this is a question as much as a statement of anxiety, but putting my Cleveland Neighborhood Progress board member hat on, I think we really need to have an internal conversation about the legislation that was introduced in the previous term about changing our CDC funding model towards the general fund. I think it's becoming very apparent to me that block grant isn't cutting it. HUD is not in favor. I hear of the way that we do this, and a Charles Slife opinion. The foundations are, by being very prescriptive of how they choose to fund the CDC network, basically picking winners and losers up front, are making the citywide CDC ecosystem future very tenuous. I'm bringing this up because, and I guess the question for the director will be, I want to understand what would happen if we were to submit an application that is comparable to previous year's applications that shows a lot of our CDC goals being done in partnership with community development corporations, and then subsequently were to pass a legislation that removed block grant funding. It seems like we are, I think you understand the question. What I don't want to do is I don't want to create a scenario for either 1 year or 5 years where we are hamstrung into a system that is failing to meet all of our expectations because we didn't realize that we needed to understand how various pieces of legislation impact each other. Are these questions being had, I guess will be the easiest way to ask the question. Are these questions being asked? Are these conversations being had? There we go.
To the councilman through the chair, thank you so much for asking that question. I will start by saying that the answer to that is to not submit a plan like the plans that we've submitted in the past. We are definitely having those conversations. It's a little early to try to give details that would be at all coherent in this format. But what we are, I believe, going to be able to do is to submit a 5-year plan that enables us to phase out this sort of funding challenge, to make a change that is sort of an interim change followed by a more permanent solution. The interim change will be the annual plan. The permanent solution would be sort of in the strategic language of the consolidated plan, if that makes sense. The hope is that we are able, we as the department, the administration, and you all as council to join us in this conversation, thinking about how we rethink. And I will say that it is not just the CDC funding, but it is the NDA program that HUD actually has a problem with. So looking to create a solution that still enables council-directed projects without doing the things that displease our HUD overlords. So lots of things on the table. Really looking forward to the discussion. I think it's going to be transformational. I'm really excited about it. I think we have a lot of support on both our side, and I'm hoping from council to really push this through this time.
Thank you, because the way I see it, the way I kind of think it through to help myself organize my thoughts through the chair is almost there's a triple Venn diagram of what we want community development corporations to do comprehensively in each of our neighborhoods, whether there's similarities in all of that work, there's maybe things that are more unique neighborhood to neighborhood, so that's one circle. Another circle is not just what HUD wants, but what we have applied for the HUD dollars to accomplish, which I think, which I don't think it has narrowed over the years. And then the other, so that's the second circle. The third circle would be what philanthropy in town wants to accomplish to meet their own priorities. And I'm not going to hide behind the fact that when the Cleveland Foundation says we want all of our money to go specifically to 5 organizations or 5 neighborhoods, that's not the Cleveland Foundation, that is 5 Neighborhoods Foundation. And it frustrates me not that they have their own priorities, but that they have created those in a vacuum, I think, without engaging with this body, and we now have the tail wagging the dog. The other thing that I want to throw out is so back to the circle of what block grant wants. I think we all across this body appreciate the importance of housing in this city and our need to focus on housing, whether that is creating housing affordability or housing repair. But I think one of my frustrations or questions has been in a city where the majority of people do not own their home, we are trying to fix housing when most people don't have the ability to participate in the program simply because they do not own their home. They don't have the ability to apply proactively. They are in a reactive environment. And then, so if you look at the minority of people in the city who own their home, I would say that there's a percentage who are going to be over income. And then another group that I would say is income eligible, but perhaps is so low income that home ownership might not be something that they can sustain into the future. Only to say that there's this very narrow audience that we've tailored all of our community development corporations to hyper focus on. And is it any surprise that they are not meeting those accomplishments? No, because we've given them a very, very, very difficult task to achieve, and then people will have the audacity to turn around and suggest that they are failing as if we didn't create the system for them to fail within. So I hope that we can have these conversations expeditiously, because if we are working on a 5-year plan, we need to be incorporating how we evolve the system into that 5-year plan and not be subjecting ourselves to something that isn't working. And I think more concerningly, creating an environment where the CDC ecosystems that aren't part of philanthropy's favorites list just begin to fold over the next couple years, and we do not have a citywide community development ecosystem. Thank you.
To the councilman through the chairman, if I can comment. First of all, thank you for your passion. I really appreciate that I think that you really fully appreciate the complexity of the situation that we're dealing with. I would also say that, as many of you know, we are about to undergo a sort of strategic analysis of the CDC ecosystem. That work is happening in parallel to our 5-year planning, so there's a lot of overlap and conversations there. I also think that one of the things that falls under the category of not doing a plan like we have in the past is that I am very interested, and our citizen feedback really demonstrated the need for resources for renters, tenant advocacy, things around, services around financial empowerment that are not rooted in how to buy a house. I think I've said even at this table before that I've heard a million times that homeownership is the fastest way to build wealth, but no one has ever told me what the second fastest way is. And if we have a city full of people that cannot afford to buy a home, homeownership cannot be our sole wealth building strategy. So please know that I hear your concerns and that these are echoed in the voices of our residents, both in our financial empowerment research and our recent community engagement, and will be incorporated into our 5-year plan.
Thank you. Director, I think you said August 15th. Do we know if that 5-year plan is going to be binding? Is HUD going to say, great, this is it for the next 5 years, we live and breathe this document?
We always have the option of amending our plan. It can be either a minor amendment or a substantial amendment. A substantial amendment requires a public hearing, but really, as long as we can justify what we're doing, we can amend it anytime.
Okay. Councilman Slife, anything further? All right, Councilwoman Santana.
I think, thank you, Chair, and you're doing such a great job. Just kind of along the lines of Councilman Slife, I know that you and I met, Director, and we had the same conversation. When I first was elected, my frustration is that every neighborhood is different, right? And for HUD to require for us to spend dollars a certain way that doesn't meet the needs of our neighborhood is pretty frustrating. So that's why I embarked on a master plan. I am one of those lucky neighborhoods that have Cleveland Foundation on my side, so I have to give a shout out to them.
Only West Side.
Oh, yes, oh, we get everything. But no, I wanted to talk about the conversation because it seems like 1 month for you to do community engagement, meet with the council members and get input. It seems pretty ambitious. So I'm curious through the chair, Director, what are the plans? Because I would love for all the council members to be part of it. We've talked about having a hearing in June. That doesn't seem like it's really soon. Yeah, it's pretty, and people are probably want to meet one-on-one. So I'm curious to know through the chair if your staff is going to be reaching out to council members, 30-minute, maybe a Zoom for them to give you their goals. How's that looking so that I can share with my members?
To the chair, I think that there's a lot that needs to be figured out logistically and how those plans are going to come through. So let me say a couple things. First, there is built into the work of the consultants who are doing the strategic analysis, there are several meetings with council that are kind of built into that plan. So one is at the beginning where they kind of collect your priorities, your interests, your concerns, and then one will be at the end where they share their results. We can certainly build more into that one-on-one if that's something that folks are interested in. As far as my own time, this is my priority from now until August. Between that and hiring enough people so that I can do that, those are the things that I'm really focused on. So I would say that, a conversation I had with the council president was in doing sort of a longer, maybe a strategic session with some of the council members who would be interested in kind of hammering out some of these plans. I can always do 30-minute calls. I'm just upstairs, so I'm always happy to meet. And if I know that I've had one-on-one meetings with several folks, Councilman Davis, we are coming up here shortly. So as time permits, I'm more than happy to do that as much as is necessary.
Got it, thank you. And I would just say the next thing is our NEF dollars, right? Council members advocate for NEF dollars because we're so frustrated that sometimes we can't spend that HUD money on things that we need. For instance, mine is medium income families, right? I know that we have funding for seniors, but I have a lot of medium income working poor that also require home repair. So I know that we're going to work on that to get that as part of the plan. So thank you for that. Anything that you need, let me know.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Chair. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Chair and Chair, through the chairs. Thank you, Director, again, for your engagement on this. This is such an important issue, and I know it bleeds over into everything else, but even, I may have missed it in the beginning. Is our anticipated allocation for 2026 up, down, even from last year, historic levels?
So this is the question. The question, the NDA program itself as an allocation is what HUD has a problem with. So what we are hoping to be able to do is to do that allocation with capital dollars. So this is kind of going back to last year's legislation. Unclear at this point if we're fully going to be able to pull it off that way. If it's not that way, we have to look for another way. Ideally, the allocation would remain the same if we can do it that way out of general funds. If it is not possible to do out of general funds in coming years, the hope is that we organize this around projects rather than an allocation. So if you can tell me before I submit a plan, this is what I want to do and this is how much it's going to cost, I can make it happen. What I can't do is say, here's $4 million to figure out what to do with, because that violates HUD's citizen participation process, because it asks us to give that money away before the citizens have had a chance to review it.
That's excellent. Through the chair, that's a very clear way to put it. And I'm also hearing then, if we engage in a more programmatic perspective, if we clarified up front what the rules are for our spending, HUD may be more amenable to how we work.
They will let us do so many things,
Okay.
as long as we do it the way they want us to do it.
But and through the chair, the way they want us to do it is clarifying up front what we want to do and engage citizens directly before receiving a single dollar from them.
To the councilman through the chair, that is correct.
That through the chair, that feels right to me, I'll be honest.
Agreed.
It's my first year on council, but I love the idea of setting up rules in advance, voting on them to clarify what we want as a council, and then letting the people have, engaging residents much more deeply than we have historically, and then getting the dollars in the ways that we've all agreed on. That feels like a good system. I know I'm not here to defend this administration, but if we're getting pressure from on high to get our act together and engage the citizens, this feels like a good thing. Tell me more.
So to the councilman through the chair, my hope is that through this 5-year plan, we will establish a set of priorities with council's input, in addition to the feedback that we got from citizens. So thinking about, as many of you know, we do have caps on certain kinds of public service activities that we're only allowed to spend a certain percentage of our dollars there. So, with some balance within those priorities, we should be able to identify projects for all of you that meet the needs of your residents and that align with your priorities. We can contract those dollars and share that with the public and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Let the public give us feedback during those public hearings and that public comment. They can give us feedback, which we can incorporate then into future versions, subsequent annual plans, and then it just kind of backs it up, right? Like it pushes us backwards to be forward-looking, rather than giving you dollars and then applying them to this last year. And that's really what HUD is looking for. They're looking for that forward-looking, data-informed, citizen-informed kind of planning process. At the end of the day, I agree that I think this is the right thing to do for our citizens. I am nothing if not an advocate for citizen involvement, and this is a way for us to truly share power with our residents in a way that will build trust and will, I think, really get to the heart of what our residents need, what they're looking for.
Through the chair, that philosophically couldn't agree more. I think that's absolutely right. I'll share. My colleagues, Councilman Slife, Councilwoman Santana, spoke much more eloquently on the dynamics at play here. I'll share. I have 6 CDCs in my ward, and at the same time, 4 of them are shared among other council members as well. And so, to the extent that I have projects, to me, that doesn't actually feel like the right question to be asking. We have projects. Northwest Neighborhoods is split up so many ways right now. And I think that can help with the long-term vision of what the northwest chunk of the city looks like in the long term. But this has to be a collaborative and a collaborative process where the ground is set up front between the many of us who are engaged in these neighborhoods. Otherwise, we're just going to be balkanized and fight and not get the resources we need and not engage the citizens that we need. Let me ask then, is there a view for, in the consultant's review, well, we can talk about the consultant review process on Thursday, but hopefully that's the interaction, the way that our new maps and ward lines and jurisdictions are all overlapping is a key part of this discussion on the funding stream as well as the consultant review. Is that right?
To the chair, that's, to the councilman through the chair, that's correct, yes.
Through the chair, makes sense to me then. Last thing I'll say is it's my hope to, there's a lot up in the air about how the money will ultimately go to our CDCs, if it's general fund or CDBG oriented. If it remains within the CDBG confines, it's my hope that we can expand the number of codes that we're allowing for. Right now, just graffiti and small business support and home repair is good stuff and not enough. And this city has so many more needs than those three. So through the chair, is that on your mind as well?
To the councilman through the chair, the world is our oyster as far as matrix codes go. We are really only limited to the percentage of our allocation that can go towards public service. So the projects that are categorized as public service can only be, 15% of our allocation. And so beyond that, we have a lot of flexibility, keeping in mind that that cap goes to the total funds. So all projects across the allocation, anything that uses those dollars, only 15% of those dollars can be spent on public service. What I will add to Councilwoman Santana's earlier comment about the NEF funds, we are in a position to help you create projects and to create contracts using those NEF funds. We can support that work with our staff as contract managers. It eventually will require additional funding through the general fund to support that, but we can make it happen. Our staff are trained, that's what they do.
That's through the chair, and I'll conclude here. That makes total sense to me. I don't know what allocations we're looking at this year, and so to me, it's like there may actually not be a lot of projects on the horizon if an equitable distribution of my CDCs would be like $100,000 each. It's only so much we can do.
I mean, it's usually, around 7 million is the total NDA allocation? 7.6.
Very good. Okay.
So if we're hoping to be able to keep it in the same neighborhood.
Through the chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Every time I see a person wearing one of those Cleveland versus the World shirts, I think that's a person that knows about CDBG allocations. Because Cleveland is the only city in America that allocates CDBG funds the way that we do. No other city does it this way. And so I think the writing is on the wall for everybody at City Hall that we need to sort of get with the times and change the way that we deal with CDBG allocations to the city. One question for Director, though, following up on Councilman Davis's question. When you were talking about the process that you imagined, because we also have what we colloquially call the swap legislation sitting in a box, where we would also set up guardrails and categories and applicable uses of the funds and predetermined qualifications for who can spend the money. Are you envisioning something very similar to that, Director, or do you have an alternate proposal that would come up as a don't do that, do this instead?
I think it's in concept fairly similar. What I don't know right now is that, to the chair, whether this is, there are some questions around funding sources, what funding sources we can use. There's a lot of it that we're still kind of trying to piece together legally and financially, fiscally, to sort of figure out like what funds we can do what with.
Yeah, because part of this goes back into Councilman Slife's original point, which is that if the foundation world is going to get persnickety about who they fund and who they don't, then we perhaps need to figure out ways to make sure that CDCs have more liberal allocation of the funds that we are able to get them so that they can continue to do work for the neighborhood at all. Because some of these requirements are so stringent or restrictive that there's just almost no good way to use them. So I think we're going to have a fun summer of meetings. I think, Councilwoman Gray and then Councilman Starr.
Yes.
Council Lady, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a couple questions. Due to the fact of that you're going to be reviewing program for the next 5 years. You want to see how it's going to grow or how you're going to implement certain things. Are you going to consider bringing back the paint program? Chair to the director.
To the councilwoman through the chair, we love the paint program.
The senior citizen loves it too, but they have been denied of getting that service done and still on hold because what happened to the paint program. Only so much funding is still left, Chair to the director. As you know, only so much funding is left. And due to what was administrated through the other director of the housing that's supposed to have been painted in Ward 4, which is now the new Ward 3, a lot of those residents are still waiting on the list to get their home painted. So only so much funding is left, and only so many houses can be allocated out that's left. But extended to that, more homes should be also guaranteed to be painted. So that's what I'm asking. Is that part of the 5-year program, and or is something can be considered due to the homes of certain wards that been waiting for a home repair for the senior citizens? I mean, for the paint program for the senior citizens.
Sure. To the councilwoman through the chair, let me just clarify that the paint program is not funded by block grant dollars. It's
Okay.
funded by general fund dollars. But we do have a plan to service, I believe, 7 of the seniors who are on your list. This is something that we are trying to think through as part of our overall home repair strategy. How can we find a consistent funding source to be painting folks' homes? It makes a tremendous difference. It's a relatively light lift from the program side, and it's not terribly expensive. So know that we do have plans in the future to at least try to figure out how a paint program fits into our overall home repair strategy.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And my second question is, also part of your 5-year program, due to the ecosystem of the CDCs, how many we have now, and due to the redistricting of the wards, saying that do we have more than enough, and or is that going to be looked at as being merged over time in this 5-year program? Chair to the director.
To the councilwoman through the chair, that is really not within our purview.
Okay.
I would say that there may be findings as a result of this analysis that some organizations may benefit from a merge. I don't know what this is going to reveal. But I will say that there is intentionally misalignment between council wards and CDC footprints. And that, I think, to Councilman Davis's earlier point, I think it gives you all the opportunity to collaborate and have a broader vision for sort of an area of the city rather than being, sort of confined to, than the organizations being confined to the whims and desires of a single council person, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you. That's all, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Council Lady. I think Councilman Starr, you have questions?
Good morning and welcome, Director. Thank you for your support and also meeting earlier last month regarding some of your goals for the department and understanding what it takes to do in community development. Obviously, through my first term, I noticed a lot of change in community development, different systems every year, different people coming and leaving from the department, promotions, demotions, reorganization, restructure. So currently, through the chair to the director, how many employees do you have in your department?
To the councilman through the chair, I believe we're at about 80.
80? And do you have any openings?
We have some technical vacancies. To the councilman through the chair, in all transparency, I'm really asking our department leadership to think about what they need in a staff rather than what they have slots for. I think there's a little bit of an urge to hire just because we can. I would rather have our leadership really be thoughtful about what their needs are and seek out, change positions, develop new positions to meet the actual needs of their work.
Right, and the guest you have at the table with you is your assistant director,
This is Jeff Kaczarski. He's our budget manager.
budget manager, so you know where the money at.
That is correct.
All right, for this ordinance number 520, this is basically coming to council to ask for acceptance into applying for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, AKA HUD, program for 2026. So have we got any word that the CDBG dollars are going to be available this year, or do we have to apply to see if the dollars are going to be available? How does this actually work through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, we have been given an anticipated allocation. It's up on your slide there about, sort of about 20,000 for CDBG and then million, 19 million. And then the other programs are broken out there as well. As far as I know, we are anticipating these dollars. And that is, as far as I know, the amount that we will be allocated. It's done by a formula based on the allocation that's given to HUD by Congress.
Now, through the chair to the director, I know in previous years past, I did hear Vice Chair Harsh bring up how difficult or how different we allocate CDBG dollars, and through the community development block grant dollars that we allocate, in which council receives around $437,000 each year. Is that the same case going in this coming year? Is that the plan through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, as we discussed earlier, it may vary slightly. We are seeking an alternative funding source for the neighborhood development activity funds.
So are we still trying to explore using general fund dollars for with some swapping and to be able to support? Now, if we did that swap, because I know we did initial past legislation to possibly set up a program to explore opportunities to do that, would those same dollars come through council for council to allocate those for community development corporations?
To the councilman through the chair, it is our intention that council will have some oversight of those dollars, yes.
Would it be similar to the program where those dollars get through council, if they're general fund dollars, to be able to make recommendation on which CDCs they will support? Would that be the part of the program?
To the councilman through the chair, yes, that is the essence of the program.
And would these same dollars be the same amount that we currently allocate? Is it around that same price range, or is there something different?
To the councilman through the chair, it's pretty much the same. It just depends on how we're able to quote unquote swap those dollars.
All right, so therefore we went from 17 seats to 15 seats. So currently that'll be around roughly $6.5 million and some change, given that we lost 2 seats. So therefore there's like $437,000 out. So that will go back to the department to determine what to do with those additional dollars. Through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, I think that's undetermined at this point.
So we have not determined that. And so this ordinance is for roughly $27 million, right? And it's broken down into $19 million into community development block grant. And based on my math, 6.5 of that is going to the council. And then the other dollars are utilized for the Department of Community Development to be able to spend it in departments of neighborhood development, housing, rehab, code enforcement, demolition, nonprofits, economic development, those type of things?
Several areas, although to the councilman through the chair, code enforcement is not permitted with block grant dollars.
Okay, so within your ordinance, as I'm reviewing it, hold on. Within this ordinance, as I was looking at it right here, so you're saying that only thing you're going to use it for is everything but the code enforcement, because you said it's not allowable expense no more? Or what is the reason code enforcement is not an eligible expense? Is that something that we limit, or is this something that we got explicitly from HUD itself through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, I'm not sure where you're seeing code enforcement.
So I'm saying, I know in the past, before some changes has happened, code enforcement was allowable swings. I'm saying, did that change come from Q on the city of Cleveland, or that's something that HUD mandated or took it away?
To the councilman through the chair, code enforcement is not an allowable expense per HUD regulations for
Okay,
CDBG dollars.
Thank you. And then you have the Home Investment Partnership Program. Then you got the Energy Solution Grant Program. And then we got the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Program. My thought is, if we did do the swap with general fund dollars, and therefore now the Community Development Department has $27.5 million. How do we ensure that those dollars go to the neighborhoods that are the most low, moderate income neighborhoods?
To the councilman through the chair, if in fact those dollars are swapped, and if those dollars fund the NDA program as you described it, which is council-controlled funds, ideally we would have some restrictions on those dollars that would ensure that the funds go to the neighborhoods, but as honorable council people, I would assume that your intention is to spend those dollars in your wards.
Yes, I mean, my intention is always to spend dollars here, but we work in 601 Lakeside, and getting dollars out the door is like you gotta go to World War III. So how do we ensure to get these dollars out, not something that you've been preview under your leadership, but in past leaderships, it's hard to get dollars out the door. Like you got in and you started looking at different things in your department, and then you rang me about dollars that we're about to lose from our accounts because they haven't been spent, and those are dollars from 2019 and 2020, and obviously I was not elected official. So what can we do to ensure that that is not the case moving forward, to ensure that those dollars are getting out first before we get new rounds of funding? Because I believe, what is the HUD guideline for how long you have to spend dollars, or you can hold dollars before you have to send it back? Is it 5 or 6 years?
It's 6 years, 7 years? 7 years, to the councilman through the chair. And I would also add to that, really, one of my 3 priorities at this point in the department is operational effectiveness. Okay. As you are describing, there is we have a challenge sometimes getting these dollars out the door. I think we are working towards staffing levels and staffing quality that will enable us to get the dollars out the door through our own operational effectiveness and improvements to our current processes. So there's a lot of work to be done in making those processes more efficient, but that work is underway.
Yes, and I think that is very important as I wrap up. Making sure we just get understanding, and do you have a chart to show that how much HUD funding from prior years remain unspent total for the city of Cleveland?
I could provide that.
Can you provide that? That would be great. And then also, do you have any breakdown of how many of these dollars that we have from HUD go to neighborhoods versus administrative costs? Do we have a lot of our dollars that we get from HUD for administrative costs for the staff, or do we have a breakdown of how those dollars look from staff into the actual neighborhood projects?
To the councilman through the chair, we cannot legally spend more than 20% of our grant dollars on administrative costs. I will add, however, to that the entire operations of my 80-person department are reliant on that 20% to operate. So as you are asking us to be more effective in pushing out contracts, and as we are hopefully able to help you do more in your communities, we are going to eventually ask you for additional support to help us staff appropriately.
And then I know we just talking about this 520, in which is the authority to be able to go after these HUD dollars for the 2026 year. And I definitely would ask to Chairwoman Santana, if we can really call for a hearing and the discussions to really talk about CDBG before we actually enact or put money or do this swap. I would like to be at the table to definitely have a stern discussion, because there's some things that I definitely wanted to bring to the forefront. Obviously, the way dollars have been spent, and also understand that neighborhoods across this country have used CDBG dollars since the 1970s to revitalize their neighborhoods, but still, meanwhile, in Cleveland, we have areas who are not being revitalized, and I think it's some stuff that we need to do as colleagues to be able to ensure that those low, moderate income neighborhoods receive their fair share, even with a swap or not, to be able to get those neighborhoods moving and thriving in a different way. But in addition, are we going to still hold ourselves to just a 3-tier or a 4-tier bucket of programs, as opposed to I believe it was like 101 eligible usages that HUD once stated or had where you could spend these dollars? Are we still just doing 3 or 4 tiers of how we can spend HUD CDBG dollars through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, if you're referring to the matrix code system,
Yes.
we are opening up additional matrix codes to be available by changing the way that we are allocating the funds.
Thank you. I just definitely want to harp, because I have neighborhoods where the median income is less than $13,000, and when you talk about what applies to CDBG and how we go and put in our application for those dollars, a lot of the areas in my neighborhood is at the top priority. But when I talk about the way we've been utilizing these CDBG dollars, I've seen other neighborhoods get new housing, new development. As far as affordable housing, because even if it's mixed housing, if you can have a certain percentage of affordable housing, in affordable housing, you can use other different funding sources such as CDBG to be able to fund those projects. But at the end of the day, where you talk about areas in my ward, we haven't seen that same type of strategy to be utilized, and I definitely would like for us to double down to get those issues addressed and just work together in partnership. So I look forward to working with you, Director, as well as your team, to see how we can make this strategy become a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Starr. Any other? Okay. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do in this area, and we're going to have to pull together probably some summer sessions to get this, to get everybody in the room, to sit down when we have just this subject and no other subjects at hand, to go ahead and hash out some of these details. But as it stands, the question is put forth on ordinance number 5/2020-26, our 52nd application for federal funding in the amount of $30 million. Does anybody object to asking the federal government for $30 million? No? Okay. Seeing no objections, 50/20/2026 stands approved. Please sign up.
Wonderful. Thank
Chair?
you. No, I just
Chair
wanted to
Wilson?
thank you for running the meeting today. You did a great job.
Thank you. This hearing of DPS is called to adjourn.
On site. This effort is part of a larger mission to support families with dignity and care, especially as the cost of everyday essentials